We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general, I think, having players like Alex out there. And she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world. And such a young woman at that has that wisdom of just what it means to play for her country.
Only 20 years old, such maturity, already a hero to her entire nation. I mean, it's basically Manny Pacquiao and Alex Eala, right? I mean,
that's it.
That's who they're looking up to right now.
Alex Eala just hit a number that no Filipino tennis player has ever seen before. And the ranking update dropped at the perfect moment. She fought through a match that nearly ended her Indian Wells run, won it anyway, and woke up the next morning ranked higher than she has ever been in her entire career. The tennis world is now paying very close attention. How high do you think Alex Eala's ranking can go by the end of 2026? Top 20, top 10, or even higher? Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Let's just say it plainly. Alex Eala is now ranked number 28 in the world according to the WTA live rankings. That is her career high. That is a number no Filipino tennis player has ever reached before her. And she got there by winning a match in Indian Wells, California that she had absolutely no business, winning the way it played out, and then showing up to a press conference afterward, looking completely unbothered.
Yastremska left herself exposed when she came forwards. It's a golden opportunity missed, believe it, after working so hard to get the break. She's been broken right back. Oh. Couldn't have placed it better. The noise is deafening inside Stadium 3. One of the best. But there's just too many errors in her game. Too many double faults. 8 in this set alone. 15 for the match. And it hands Alex Eala a 4th match point. It's Eala's night, and the Filipina wins a blockbuster close to midnight in Indian Wells. Look at the great respect between these two. This was a sensational match. Diana Yastremska more than played her part. Lovely respect between the two, but it's Alex Eala who thrives in these matches. She thrives in these kinds of atmospheres, and she's done it again. 7-5, 4-6, 7-5. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And if not the match of the tournament so far, it's certainly a big contender, and it's going to be hard to beat. I think the support in the end got her over the line, but you've got to feel for Diana Yastremska. She had chances.
The win over Diana Yastremska 75-46-75 was not a clean, comfortable victory where Eala dominated from the first game and everyone went home early. It was a fight, 3 sets, multiple momentum swings. A situation in the third where Yastremska had broken and was controlling the set, looking every bit like the player who was about to close the match out. And then I did what I does. She found something when there was seemingly nothing left to find, produced some of the most fearless tennis of her day, and turned the whole thing around. That one pushed her from her official ranking of 32 into number 28 on the live rankings. And before the match is even fully processed by the tennis world, she's already scheduled to face Coco Gauff in the round of 32. Yes, world number 4, Coco Gauff in Indian Wells on American soil in front of Gauff's home crowd less than a month after Gauff beat her 6-0, 6-2 in Dubai. The universe has a very specific sense of humor when it comes to Alex Eala's career. But let's not rush past the ranking milestone because it deserves its own moment before we start talking about what comes next. Number 28 in the world in women's tennis on the WTA Tour, a sport that is played globally, that has produced legends from dozens of countries, that has one of the deepest and most competitive professional circuits in all of sports. To be sitting at number 28 in that field at 20 years old as a Filipino player, that is not something that gets acknowledged with a casual nod and a quick pivot to the next story. That is a genuinely historic achievement. The people who have been watching Eala since her junior days, since she was winning junior Grand Slam titles and turning heads in the development circuit, have been waiting for this kind of trajectory to show up at the senior level. And now it is here undeniably in real rankings, backed by real wins against real professional players on real professional surfaces. The number is on the board. It cannot be debated. And the way she got here tells the story better than the ranking alone. Because I has not built this ranking by beating easy opponents in small tournaments. She has been playing on the big stages against players who are capable of beating anyone on their day. And she has been finding ways to win when it gets difficult. That's the pattern that defines her 2026 so far. Think about what the season has looked like for her. She's competing at WTA level events against ranked professionals. She is reaching rounds that put her in front of the biggest names in the sport. She is generating the kind of crowd support that tournament directors take note of because fans follow her from city to city and fill stadiums with energy that becomes part of the match itself. And she is doing all of this while still building, still figuring out the pieces of her game that need to improve, still learning how to manage the physical and mental demands of a full professional season. The talent was never the question. The talent has been obvious since she was a teenager. The question was always about consistency, about whether she could replicate what she does in junior tennis at the senior level week after week against players who are physically stronger, more experienced, and playing for their livelihoods. That question is being answered in real time, and the answer is looking increasingly like yes. Now, let's talk about what number 28 actually means in the context of the WTA Tour. The top 32 players in the world receive direct entry into the main draws of Grand Slam tournaments. At number 28, Eala is comfortably inside that range. That means no qualifying rounds, no having to grind through a preliminary bracket just to reach the main event. She walks straight into the draw at the biggest tournaments in the sport. That is a significant advantage both logistically and mentally. Players who qualify know they've already played multiple matches before the main draw even starts. Players who enter directly get to conserve energy, prepare specifically for their first-round opponent, and arrive at the tournament without the accumulated stress of qualification. At number 28, Eala has earned the right to prepare like the top players prepare. That is not a small thing. That changes how you schedule your season, how you manage your body, and how you approach each event, knowing you've got a guaranteed spot at the table. And if she goes deep at Indian Wells, if she can get past Gauff and keep winning, that number climbs higher. The live rankings update in real time based on points earned, which means every win adds to her total and pushes her further up. A run to the quarterfinals or semifinals at a EM's 10,000 event like Indian Wells would generate a significant points haul and could push her into the top 20 for the first time in her career, top 20 in the world. That sentence needs a second to land. Because 2 years ago, the question was whether Eala could establish herself in the top 100 on the senior tour. 1 year ago, the conversation was about whether she could break into the top 50 and stay there. And now, the top 20 is a realistic, achievable, math-based outcome that could happen during this very tournament. The trajectory is almost absurd if you lay it out flat. And yet, here we are. Let's address the elephant in the press conference room, which is the fact that Eala's reward for beating Estrika is a match against the player who beat her most recently and most convincingly. Coco Gauff at Indian Wells is exactly the kind of matchup that tests everything a player has built. Gauff is not just ranked number 4 in the world. She is playing at home in California, where the crowd will be almost entirely behind her. That crowd factor creates an atmosphere that is genuinely difficult to play in when you're the visiting player. The momentum of a stadium full of people willing every point toward your opponent is a real force that changes how matches feel, how pressure builds, and how small errors compound into lost games. Eala acknowledged all of that in her press conference after the Astrika win. She said the match is going to be tough. She said she expects a big crowd behind Golf. She said she's going to have to dig even deeper than she did today. And then she said she's excited and ready, which is either the most confident thing a player can say after surviving match point or a very well-crafted answer that conceals the actual amount of mental preparation happening behind the scenes. Maybe both, probably both. The Dubai result 6-0-6:2 is the number that critics keep pointing to when they want to pump the brakes on the Eala momentum. And they're not wrong to point to it. That scoreline represents a version of Coco Golf that was operating at a level where Eala genuinely could not find answers. The power, the consistency, the pace, all of it was too much on that particular day. There's no spin on a 6-0, 6-2 loss. It was a comprehensive performance from Golf and a learning experience from EA's side. But here's the part that the critics conveniently leave out. EA played that match at a lower ranking at an earlier stage of her 2026 season before the series of wins that have now pushed her to a career high. The player who walks onto the court at Indian Wells is not the same player who walked off the court in Dubai. She's added more match experience. She's added more confidence from having survived difficult situations. She's added the specific knowledge of what golf does and what adjustments need to be made. Whether those adjustments are enough to change the outcome is a different question, but the inputs going into this match are different from the inputs that went into Dubai, and that matters. Also worth noting, EA and Golf have history that goes beyond their singles matches. They were doubles partners at some point in their careers. That means Eala has seen Golf up close in a collaborative context, has watched how she moves and communicates and reads situations. That kind of familiarity doesn't necessarily translate into a singles win, but it's not nothing either. Knowing your opponent as a person and as a player gives you a different kind of information than just watching film. The broader picture for Eala in 2026 is one that the Philippine sports community has been waiting for with increasing impatience. Tennis is a global sport with a deeply established hierarchy, and breaking into the upper tier of that hierarchy as a player from the Philippines without the infrastructure, the coaching pipelines, and the historical success rate that players from the United States, Russia, Czech Republic, or Australia enjoy is genuinely harder than it looks from the outside. The resources that go into developing a top 30 player in those countries are enormous. The development systems, the MIs, the early identification of talent, the financial support. All of it compounds over years and creates players who arrive on the senior tour already battle-tested and well-resourced. Eala got here on talent, on work ethic, and on a mental toughness that has been visible since she was winning junior titles and making people take notice at a very young age. She carries an entire country's expectations with her on every court she walks onto. And the fan base that travels and cheers and floods social media with support after every win and every loss is a reflection of what she means to Filipino sports. Number 28 in the world is not just a ranking. It's a statement about what's possible. It's proof that the trajectory was real, that the junior success was a preview and not a ceiling, and that the senior tour is exactly where Alexa belongs. The critics who questioned whether she could make it at this level, whether the junior resume would translate, whether she had what it takes to compete against the best players in the world on a consistent basis, they are watching the ranking updates right now. And the ranking updates are saying the same thing every match adds to. She is here, she is climbing, and she is not done. Indian Wells is not over. The golf match is coming. The crowd will be loud. The opponent will be elite, and the moment will be massive. But a player who fights back from a match point down in the third set and then tells the press she's excited for the next one has a certain quality that rankings cannot fully capture. Number 28 is where she is today. The question is where the ceiling actually is. And right now, nobody has a convincing answer to that question, which, if you've been following the story from the beginning, is exactly where you always hoped it would end up. That is the full story of Alex Eala reaching number 28 in the world and what it means for her career going forward. If this got you fired up for what's coming next at Indian Wells, hit that like button and drop your ranking prediction in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, get that done. More Yele coverage is coming all tournament.